by nature, the Malay is an idler, the Chinaman is a thief, and the Indian is a drunkard. And yet each, in his special class of work, is both cheap and efficient when properly supervised. Now, I'll give you a clue. It wasn't written by a member of the Barisan Nasional, even though that's the sort of language that we hear. This was actually written by C.J. Wanford Locke in a book called Mining in Malaya for Gold and Tin. It's a guidebook for prospective investors who wanted to come to Colonial Malaya and to look for workers. So you know how to treat your workers, you know? So you read this in London and you come here and say, you're Indian, so I must teach you Malay, I pay you a bribe, you know? So they're given all this advice before they arrive. Now, the irony is this, of course. Like I said, this could have come from any Barisan Nasional politician, because these are exactly the stereotypes that we live with in Malaysia till today. You don't believe me? Watch any mainstream TV channel, look at the comedy channel. When a comedy program comes up, if there's an Indian guy in there, I can bet you now he's not going to speak Bahasa Malaysia properly. Yeah, he's going to have a very strong accent, you know, and the Chinaman's going to behave in a certain way, and the Malay's going to behave in a certain way. So these are all the stereotypes that we perpetuate till today. The question is why? Why? When we look at the history of post-colonial Malaysia, I think the saddest thing is that we've not been able to give birth to a new generation of Malaysians who actually wanted to create a Malaysian Malaysia that transcended the logic of race. What we've had is the opposite. Practically every single political party that emerged in Malaysia from 1930s onwards in the struggle against colonialism mirrored colonialism. It internalized the logic of colonialism. And you know, we don't have to go very far. You can go to NPH, you get a few of these books I can show you which ones to read. Of course, you know, there are some very prominent examples. If you read Mahathir Mohamad's Malay Dilemma, for example, theory of racial differences there, including theories that I talked about that emerged from the colonial period, social Darwinism, survival of the fittest. These are all theories that go back to the late 19th, early 20th century. If you look at another book, Revolusi Mental, which was, I believe, published in 1974, it's a collection of essays written by prominent leaders in UMNO, then edited by the Secretary General of UMNO, Muhammad Noor. Collection of essays repeat every single cliche that you had from the writings of Frank Swettenham, Hugh Clifford, and people like that. So we repeat these stereotypes again and again. And I think this is it's even sadder when we look at these parties in the context of a wider landscape of Malaysian politics. So many parties in Malaysia today either opt for race-based or increasingly religious-based communitarian sectarian politics. So the question that we ask ourselves now, post-election, post 8th March, looking forward to what we hope to be a new Malaysia and a new political culture, a new Malaysian political culture, is this: do we have the concepts, the ideas, the vocabulary for a different sort of politics? One that does not work within the suffocating confines of race-based thinking. What sort of government mentality do we want to create in Malaysia? What sort of governance do we want in Malaysia? Now, if we opt for the same model that we've had in the past, practically every post-colonial government still operates like a colonial government. It treats its own public, its own population with suspicion and fear. Is that you just replace one set of elites with another set of elites, but the apparatus are all there. The same rules, the same regulations, the laws of sedition. Technically, I shouldn't have been talking about this because we're not meant to be talking about race, in Malaysia. And where do these things come from? They emerge at the time, 1945, 1947, 1948. That's when these laws were all passed, and we've inherited these things. So it will take more than simply one election, to alter the state of Malaysian politics and the Malaysian mindset. First step, I believe, is to go back to the past and to look at how the concept of race itself came to Malaysia, and that's what we've been trying to do here today. Basically, my argument in a nutshell is this: race-based thinking is neither historically determinate nor is it unavoidable. The fact that it came to Southeast Asia, to British Malaya, Dutch East Indies, was part and parcel of a wider, broader historical period, which had with it its own logic, its own values. There are agents and actors that we can identify. Those who did the colonial census, those who wrote the history books, those who came up with these theories. There are specific agents and actors. But, as I said at the beginning, you can't blame the colonial past for the mistakes of the present. We today are the agents responsible. We perpetuate this. And we perpetuate it, I think, in many cases by default, by accident, because we don't actually go back and interrogate our own history and read our history critically and deconstructively. And this is why it's so hard, particularly for academics, to do this sort of work, because every book written in our universities post-57, in every field, from economics to history to political science, takes for granted the idea that racial difference is a reality, whereas it's not. So as I said earlier, stupid ideas, may be stupid, but they are dangerous. They're dangerous because they have this amazing emotive capacity, and you can construct entire nations out of stupid ideas. And unfortunately, post-colonial Malaysian history is basically based on a number of very, very stupid, very shallow, scientifically unjustified and unverifiable ideas. So perhaps a part and parcel of our whole attempt to construct a new Malaysia today is to reinvent a new language of politics. But in order to reinvent a new language of politics, and as we discard elements of the past, ideas from the past, let's at least understand where these ideas came from, how and why they were brought here, and how and why some elites in our recent post-colonial history have chosen to perpetuate them. So we go back to the question of are we independent? Is Malaysia truly a liberated country? And here I think I would quote my late friend Mr. Sani, who agreed with me that the path to true Malaysian independence is still a long way off, because the deshackling of our mindset has yet to take place. So I suppose with that I draw the lecture to the close, and I'll open the floor for questions and answers. Thank you very much.